Welcome back. Outside Minds podcast. Because you've already seen too much, bro.
They only added it so it could be like a ritual.
They're saying there's these, the end of times, right? There's all these signs.
Do you think we would know? Like, do you think the general public would know this game?
Take a picture for $5. You have a purpose in life, and if you don't fulfill it, you will come back until you fulfill it.
Welcome back. Outside Minds podcast, episode 13. We got a very special guest in the house today. I'm Stilo Free, and this is my co-host,
Dot420.
And we got a very special guest, like I said. Go ahead and introduce yourself. This is a man, is a beast on the mat. He's from San Pedro, the town I live in, so that was kind of crazy. I met him just from listening to a podcast, and we got in the house, Giovanni Vuk.
What's up?
Did I say that right, bro?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you.
I'm a black belt under Eddie Bravo. Been in San Pedro my whole life. Love conspiracy theories. And you can find me on sanpedromma.com or Vuk Martial Arts on Instagram.
Nice. If you guys are in the San Pedro area and you want to train, you want to train some MMA, you want to roll a little bit on the mat, learn some jiu-jitsu, hit this man up.
Hit me up.
What I'm saying? So Outside Minds, episode 13, we thought it was appropriate to check out the crazy Illuminati Card Game by Steve Jackson Games. And Giovanni and Todd are going to give you a little bit of a rundown about what's going on a few weeks ago with the assassination and a card we're going to find in here while I open this. So give them a rundown.
Well, there's a couple particular or peculiar cards in this deck that really show what has been happening, in recent times or throughout the past 20 years. And there's a card that I guess resembles Trump and the assassination. So we're going to look for that.
Yeah,
and
it's
see
like
what that's about.
Some kind of assassination card, and it has a face on it, and it looks just like Donald Trump.
Just like him.
And if you dive into the background of this card set, it's crazy. So basically, what you come to find out is there was an FBI raid before this game was published, right?
Oh, wow.
Well, I think there was, I don't know if it was published yet, or maybe there might have been one copy or whatever, but yeah, they raided the Steve Jackson Games, and
well, because what happened was I was researching it because I thought the FBI raid happened because of the game, but what happened was one of the guys who works for Steven Jackson Games was a hacker.
Yes.
And what he did, there's this things called like BSB or DSDs or something like that. They're basically like message boards or forums on the internet back in the days in the 80s, and he posted like an instruction manual for like a 911 operations for like a telecommunications company.
How to hack a
Yes.
telecommunications company for 9/11.
So because that happened, they raided him in his workplace. And this was before the Illuminati Card Game came out.
So they took his computer, and then they found everything on there, and they were wondering where did he get this information from, because a lot of the things were a little too on point.
I'm trying to find some of these cards. But yeah, that it's a story. It is the far deeper down you go, the crazier it gets because the guy's a hacker. And basically, what the Steve Jackson Card Game basically people do, they were making like role playing games like D&D and stuff like that, and they make rule books for them. They kind of give rules to each game.
Flat Earthers.
Well, you know where he got his conspiracies from, right?
From a message board, right?
No, so he was a writer for Playboy, and
Right when you said that, I see girly magazines.
bam.
That's funny.
So he was a writer for Playboy, and he told everybody, send your conspiracies in. And so he just got thousands of letters.
Oh, that's right.
With conspiracies, and he put a game together with them. And yeah, he ended up suing the what was it? Not the CIA, but the Secret Service.
No, the Secret Service.
And he won,
right?
Yeah. So they paid out of court, though. Obviously, they didn't want you knowing what he paid or whatever.
Yeah, that's insane.
Because he legitimately just got it from all these things. But the thing is, the people who sent him in, some of them might be legit people that know some things.
So
these cards are crazy, dude.
You can pick whatever one you want and we can talk about it, but there's one I did find. It's the Pentagon card, and it has this dude in front of the Pentagon right here, and the Pentagon is basically attacked. And this game, keep in mind, it came out in the early 90s, so this was before 9/11. There should also be another card where you see the two towers that look exactly like the Twin Towers. I don't know if it's implied or not.
California.
There's an explosion right on the side of it. There's a speculation whether these cards are like predictive programming, where the collective unconsciousness is kind of manifesting these things through a card game, or also they're kind of doing it for karma.
Dude. Hackers. Right? That's crazy.
Yeah, so there's also, I think, an endemic card or pandemic card or something like that. So basically, the way to play this game, it's a role-playing game, and you're supposed to take over the world using these cards and these tactics. The funny thing is, in the rules, is if you cheat and you don't get caught cheating, it's valid.
Yeah.
So that's super crazy.
Yeah, so you pretty much say like, well, I got these wildfires about to happen over here, right? And that's what you're playing.
I actually know some people in this cult, the Mooney cult. That's crazy.
You're trying to control the world, but then someone says, well, I got this false narrative in the media. That's going to take all the attention away from your thing.
Yeah.
So that's how you get more points in the game and stuff like that.
That's crazy.
And there's different like sets, because to begin with, when they first came out, they came out in different packs, and you had to collect them all to have the full deck.
Yeah.
So there are different expansion packs and different versions. Some come with blank cards, so you can write your own stuff. I don't know if this one did at all, but
we got to find the assassination card. We'll go ahead and post it on the screen and talk about it. But it was crazy, man, because the assassination attempt a few weeks ago, and the card looks like Donald Trump's face.
Texas is on here. California and Texas, and it's like, what are the two states that are talked about the most right now?
So go ahead and tell us about your current situation, what conspiracies you're really into right now, and kind of like your general story on how you got into conspiracies, bro.
Well, I guess I'll start from the beginning. You know, I'll
take these, bro.
Yeah, here you go. You know, I have 3 religions in my family, so when I was young, I just got so sick of, you know, just all that religion talk, and I got out of it, went into atheism, and from there, I was just skeptic about everything. And I still hold my skepticism. I think it's kind of healthy to have that. But, you know, getting out of high school, I got into the Joe Rogan podcast. And, you know, when you hear Eddie Bravo talking, of course, you're going to first get into jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Which I did. And then,
you're a personal friend of Eddie Bravo's, right?
Yeah.
Shout out to the man, Eddie Bravo.
There we go.
Yep.
Look into
the legend.
Check out that
number
podcast.
1 flat earther.
Yeah.
I'm belted under him, so it's an extreme honor to be, you know, getting a black belt from Eddie. So from there, you know, I got into psychedelics. I got into smoking weed. And, of course, you know, I went on that hunt to find mushrooms, to find DMT, all that. So I've had some pretty amazing trips, also some pretty scary trips.
I've had some bad trips. It sucks, dude.
Yeah, I had this. I'll never forget. I had this one trip where I felt like the moon was after me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I took 7 grams.
Oh, yeah.
So are you a flat earther yourself?
So
Damn, 7 grams. God damn.
Oh yeah, that was like beyond heroic dose.
Yeah, that's a little more than heroic. That's
dude,
that's almost double heroic.
My consciousness broke down to one little bit of information.
It happens.
And I had to fucking build myself back up by remembering people.
Yeah.
It was crazy, dude. So, and I think that kind of broke my brain a little bit, but you know, by the grace of God, I'm still here. So,
was it an ego death? Were you like stripped of your whole personality and everything?
It was like a consciousness death.
Okay.
You know, like I literally, like I said, I was broken down to one little iota of information, and I had to like remember
it, like,
other people. I was like, and you know, if you heard me, I was like pretty much like possessed. I was just like, blah, blah, like yelling out people's names. But
I've had some experiences like that. They're
when I
very scary.
yelled out people's names, I would remember a little bit of information and remember a little bit more, and I build myself back up.
Wow.
So yeah, it was pretty crazy shit.
Were you with people during your trip?
No, I was by myself.
Yeah, okay.
I actually
that's how I like to trip, at home by myself, because I want to, you know, dig and see what's inside.
Yeah.
For sure.
I walked up to one of the parks here, and I just went by myself. I was taking the mushrooms as I was walking up to the park. And
oh yeah.
When I got there, I just like immediately felt like the moon was fucking after me, dude. Like, that moon was so like made me paranoid as fuck. And you know, they say like, you know, the moon's like a soul trap, I don't know if you ever
What
heard
do you think
of that.
about that? Because that was going to be my next question.
Yeah. Well, I guess some cultures say that there was a time where there wasn't a moon.
Okay.
Oh,
wow,
so,
yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
So are you, because I know Eddie Bravo, he is under the, he believes that space is fake. Like all the stuff we see, the explanation, the general explanation they give to us is not what it is.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way? What are your thoughts on that? Do you feel a little bit different?
I think the idea of space that NASA gives us is fake, but I am into the idea that like maybe outside of the firmament, the dome that covers us, maybe is like some kind of ethereal water. Mm-hmm. Like there's like plenty of videos where like people take their GoPros and put them on a balloon and they get all the way to the top and they start hearing water.
Yeah, I think I've seen that.
Yeah, so
I heard about
that makes sense even biblically, because when God created the earth, he separated the waters from the waters. Mm-hmm. So what if space is just a big ass ocean, an infinite ocean?
And that's how they practice to go to space, right? In their pools.
Yeah, they practice in pools. Yeah, so
Yeah, because of gravity.
Yeah, and I mean it's all just, I mean, I believe that we live in I think gravity's fake too, because you can easily explain it by using buoyancy and density. So I think that's what it is. I mean, when I made the realization that fish, they got float bladders. Do you know that fucking birds have air sacs? So it's just like, whoa, like as above is below.
I do know that if you release all of the air in your body, naturally you will float down to the bottom of the pool.
Yeah, you will sink, yeah.
If you fill your lungs, you'll have more buoyancy than the water, because naturally the human density is more than water when you have your lungs filled up.
Yeah, like sharks, they don't have float bladders, so they have to keep on swimming. If they don't stop swimming, they'll drown.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so when I realized that birds also have the same mechanism, I was like, okay, this medium that we're in, the ether, is just a different form of water,
Yeah.
So it's all buoyancy and density. I mean, come on now, how can a fucking butterfly keep afloat when there's gravity pulling it down, So
Yeah.
but yeah, just kind of like, I guess going back to my story, I got out of atheism through psychedelics. Mushrooms was a big part of my whole journey. I mean, I've experimented with other stuff too, like, of course, I always have this joke. I'm like, I never got into hard drugs. I've only done acid, mushrooms, ketamine, acid. Never done hard drugs. So, never tried coke, never tried any methamphetamine. Wow. So you know what I mean. So
yeah.
But that definitely shook me out of my atheism. I started realizing, okay, there definitely is a spirit world. There's this thing behind the veil that we never get to see. Yeah. And then
when you get to a higher consciousness, you're starting to perceive things that are right in front of you that you were never able to see before in your regular
just like
reality.
in the Bible, it says that veil will be lifted. Yeah. That's where you have the spirit world, and us, we live in that physical world. So, but then it was hanging out with Eddie and him just drilling flat earth into your brain and like making you question, like, okay, all right, this realm that we live in is not what's, not what NASA and science is telling us. And I realized that we live on a flat plane.
I have no problem with flat earth or the people that subscribe to that theory, because even though I don't believe that the earth is flat, I do believe that there's something they're not telling us about it. And I believe a lot of it has to do with the whole North Pole, South Pole thing, and you can't fly over it and whatnot. And as they say, like, as above, so below, and we're electric beings, there's like a torus field around us. So I subscribe more to the fact that maybe it's some kind of like torus field that's like electromagnetic, because we're like electromagnetic beings. You know what I mean? The further and further you go into quantum mechanics, the quantum mechanic scientists, they're figuring out that like what we see and feel and describe as matter is not even matter. Like it's not even. This is all not even there.
Yeah,
matter doesn't matter.
Matter doesn't matter. Yeah, that makes me think about what Eddie has been saying lately. How it's like, we're like these electric beings, but we're like machines. And in a way, what the earth is a reflection of how our body works. So I think the torus field theory is totally valid. I think maybe even what we think of as the firmament might be a torus field. And maybe...
Oh, I never thought of it like that either.
Yeah, it might be a torus field. And then maybe there's that first Taurus field, but maybe there's another Taurus field around that.
Oh, wow.
And that's where you probably get the different levels of heaven.
Oh,
I believe
wow.
there's 3 levels of heaven.
Okay.
So, you know, that totally makes sense to me.
Yeah, because we were talking about it earlier, and when we were going into the Flat Earth last episode, which is gonna obviously gonna drop before this one, but we were comparing all the different cosmologies of the ancient religions, like the Norse religions and the Indian religions and the Hindu religions, and they all seem to have like the Earth right here in the middle, and then layers above and layers below. You know what I mean? And they all kind of have that similar shape, and there's always like animals in the bottom. So basically what I always do, instead of looking at the differences, I always look at the similarities.
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
will always give you clues as to what really is and what we're missing and what we're not told.
Yeah, totally. I believe the same thing. I think there's much more validity in the similarities and the differences.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
You know, and that's been my journey, because, you know, when you get into psychedelics and you get that introduction to spirituality, you're trying to figure out what's the truth, you know.
Yeah.
But ultimately that did lead me going back to Christianity, because even though the Bible doesn't explicitly tell things, it gives you principles, and it's like those principles are absolute truth. So that's definitely why I went back to the church. So
Okay. Also, that's super crazy, because as the further I go, because I started off into my conspiracy kind of rabbit hole, as you know, religion's fake, it's all bullshit, and the deeper and deeper I go, I'm like, oh shit, like this is like the truth and shit.
Yeah.
Like there's something missing here. It just got co-opted along the way.
Yeah.
But what I did want to ask you about was numerology and gematria and all that kind of stuff, because number one, it's kind of hard for me to differentiate the difference between the two, but also I want you to explain for the people on the podcast what it is, because I feel like a lot of people, when they discover it, they feel like it's too much, and because it's too much and everything's connected in it, it's kind of easy. It's either easy to get lost or easy to dismiss it.
Easy to say it's a coincidence.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not a numerology gematria expert, but I have a lot of close buddies that are in it. Shout out to my boy John Lee.
Shout out.
He was a guy that I was on the podcast with for episode 777.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why we brought it up.
Yeah, and so he's a number 77 expert, and he actually believes that number is traced to the fallen angel Samyaza, or Semyaza, which is probably one of the general chief fallen angels that came down, because I think they say that a third of God's angels fell.
And there's like a hierarchy.
Yeah, and so
like
you
there's
know,
a
third can be traced to number 33.
Okay.
So yeah, like, or 33% of them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Which, you know, it kind of, I just thought right now, you know, like Jesus, he ended his ministry at 33. You know, he died at that number. But what I believe is, you know, some people will say like, oh, you know, that's all gematria, that's all. But I think that's actually God conquering gematria.
Okay.
You know, taking back those numbers, because when God created the earth, everything was good. You know, it wasn't intended for any evil. You know, and I believe this because, you know, J.R.R. Tolkien, the guy who made Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So his definition of evil is like so spot on. Evil is a mockery of creation.
Wow.
That's what I totally think it is. I think that the devils and the fallen angels, they take this information and they try to pervert it.
Well, because they can't create themselves.
They can't create themselves. Only God can create.
Okay,
So,
on that thought, let me tell you this, because I wrote it down, because we were watching the number 23 last week. And that movie is insane. If you guys haven't seen it, check that out.
Old movie, but
We're going to go down the Jim Carrey rabbit hole as well on another
he's
episode.
a trip. You see
Yeah.
him throwing up the
everything.
Yeah, dude, crazy.
Yeah, so basically, I feel like the reason why, like I said before, people dismiss numerology and gematria is because if people will say if you're looking for a pattern, you're gonna find one. You know what I mean? And that's off top. You know what I mean? But I started to look deeper into that and think deeper into it, and I know that the universe is described in numbers and geometry on the other side of it that we can't see. It's like information expressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're gonna see these numbers. in bad events or good events, no matter what. It's like seeing angel numbers or seeing devil numbers, and like you're gonna see them. They're gonna be there in bad events or good events, no matter what.
Yeah.
So if you can study it and be able to look for the patterns, I think what the elites are doing and magicians and people like that, it's like they're going to those numbers in order to have higher success rates for whatever they want to put.
So
You
what
know what I mean?
what I believe is that numerology, gematria, is actually just a part of divination.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so, when you're able to perform divination, you're able to link up these events with these numbers and get, I guess you could say, better results.
Even like planetary bodies and stuff like
Yeah.
that, because it's connected to astrology and stuff like that too. So I was thinking, like, let's say you want to like rob a painting, you know what I mean?
Okay.
And your plan is to do it on June 2nd, 6-2
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
But maybe for whatever reason, the number 66 might be more associated with, thievery or vengeance or whatever the motive is behind that or whatever.
Yeah.
So instead of doing it on June 2nd, you might do it on June 6th. 6-6, you might have a better, higher success rate of achieving whatever you want to achieve.
Yep.
So that's what I'm starting to understand about it, because at first I was just thinking that people were just like looking for numbers, finding them and saying like, see, that's a number right there. And they kind of look crazy, but there's always a different perspective of looking at it and understanding why so many people like Aleister Crowley and stuff like that were into numerology and gematria in order to achieve the things they wanted to do, like studying magic and stuff like that.
Yeah. But I do want to preference this, like, even though we're trying to understand the code that they're trying to perform on us, the magic that they're trying to do on us, we do have to be very careful, because this is all a part of divination, and all that is a sin.
Okay.
100%.
Yeah, in the Bible they say.
You play a part in it when you're
playing a part in it, and it's like, it's better to know what they're doing, but to not be a part of it,
To not participate into it.
I had friends that were into all that stuff, and you just start to see that they're getting controlled by something. And I have a Bible verse actually.
Do you think that's like a part of like temptation?
Oh, of course,
Yeah.
of course, because it's a temptation of information. You
Yes.
want to know things,
So you do anything.
and
to
so
do it.
the demons they'll lure you in by giving you information. So that's why, like, it's just, you got to be very careful with that kind of stuff, So I have this really interesting Bible verse, because I also do a show with Sam called Johnny Cash Reads the Bible.
Okay.
Okay, I heard about
so
that. I heard about
check
that.
it out if you guys can.
Johnny Cash Reads the Bible. Check that out.
It's pretty sick.
I'll
So
tag it right here in the video.
we're gonna be doing our 3rd episode pretty soon.
Do you guys have just like an AI Johnny Cash, like go through
Yeah.
Bible verses and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and then
That's
break them
sick.
down?
That's sick. That's sick.
I can just imagine Sam
Yeah.
just like, oh my god,
yeah. So the first
you
episode,
just blew my mind.
yeah, no, it was awesome. Actually, the 2nd episode was great, and the 2nd episode we got into, I believe we got into like the power of Jesus' name, and how it literally casts out demons. But obviously, you have to really know Christ. You have to have a real relationship with Him in order to do those things. But there's this one verse. Let me try to pull it up really quick. I believe it's Acts 16 through 19. And I actually don't even have to say it all, but it's about this woman who comes to, I believe, to visit Paul, and she's actually a diviner. She's like the village's
She's like reads tea
divinator,
leaves or
right?
something like that, or
And
palms or something.
so Paul basically, he says, I command you in the name of Jesus Christ to go out from her. And what he was doing was casting out multiple spirits out of this woman. So that's the trouble that you run into when you get into that kind of stuff, is that you don't realize
You're inviting disembodied spirits
you're bringing
into
on
your
spiritual
consciousness.
attachments, and before you know it, you're in
You don't
deep.
even know.
You don't even
Yeah.
know. Yeah. So that's my little warning about numerology and gematria. I pray for the people that are trying to do it for, the greater good, trying to understand the warfare that's going, the spiritual warfare. But if you don't have your eyes on Christ, man, it's gonna be scary, dude. You gotta watch out. So
Yeah. Well, because the way I like to explain it, the reason why I like to learn about all these things is because, like, let's say, you're going to go to a car salesman, you're going to try to buy a car from him. Everyone tells you he lies, he tries to jack up the interest, he'll try to give you a bad deal and stuff like that. So going to it, that there's some kind of obstacle or some kind of, thing that, you're going to have to deal with when you deal with that. You know what I mean? So I feel like when you kind of notice these patterns or these things that the elite are trying to do, you'll have a better defense at, you know, trying to duck and dodge whatever they're trying to throw at us.
And,
you know what I
and in
mean?
Christianity, like, we have a principle of putting on the armor of God, you know, and that's literally a full armor set that has all these different attributes that you have to be mindful of, you know. But again, you know, if you're gonna get into this kind of stuff, if you're gonna try to learn about this, you have to be careful with it. You have to put on the armor of God, you know, because when you stare into the abyss will stare back.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And you got to watch out for that.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a crazy saying.
Yeah,
it's
dude.
a crazy saying when people say that.
You
I've
know?
had some crazy experiences just learning information off the internet.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah,
when
yeah.
I've done my DMT trips, that's what it felt like. Like,
Yeah.
I've been to other places,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it's always felt loving. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So that's what connected me with my higher self and made me like
Yeah, I mean,
more spiritual. I'm not religious. I grew up going to Catholic church, you know,
Yeah.
so I had all first baptism, Holy Communion, all that stuff.
good.
But it just never like the stories never really stuck with me the way it was taught, you know, and I kind of got away from me. But when I started doing psychedelics, you know, it made me understand that there is something higher. I'm not necessarily religious, but I know there is something out there that, you know, like you said, a creator and something else that's controlling stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you know, going back, you know, psychedelics was so important for me because it shook me out of my atheism, and you know, I don't regret it at all. But now with the knowledge that I have, because I've gone so deep into you know, all these conspiracies, and then trying to now work on my relationship with God, I realized that, hey, you know what, I don't really need those things right now. That's why, like, now I'm completely sober.
Yeah.
Nice.
Congrats.
I'm definitely trying to I don't want to totally stay away from it, because again, it's been so integral for my journey. But you know, I've noticed that when I went sober, but now with this relationship with God, man, I feel like I've been able to open up so much more to people.
Let me ask you something, because when I first stopped smoking, like 2 years ago or something like that, I took like a 4-month break. It was the first time I stopped smoking probably for that long in my whole 16 years of smoking. At that point, I had started at 16. I was 32 at the time.
Yeah.
And I felt like, let me just do something I'd never done before to see how it works out for me.
Okay.
And it was weird because that coincided with my spiritual awakening that happened right before that.
That's a trip.
Do you feel like that kind of happened the same way with you?
It did. It was so weird, bro, because when I stopped smoking, I felt like my heart opened up.
Okay.
Like really
yeah.
open. Like I just had this like fluttery feeling in my heart. I'm able to connect to people so much deeper. I didn't realize that weed actually hardened my heart, because I was not using it for its intended purpose.
crazy.
You know, it's a medicine.
Definitely.
You know
From
what I mean?
the earth.
It's from the earth. God created it. It's a medicine, but should you be taking medicine your whole life
No.
if you're not sick?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing too, was that for a long time, it helped me. And
Yeah.
I felt like it helped me relieve me of my anxiety. It helped me not to be a crabby person. I was a
Same
little bit
thing.
happier all the time. But when I flipped it, let me try something that that I don't normally do. And then I realized, even though it was helping me with all that stuff, I didn't need it because I already had worked on those problems and surpassed them. So when I
There you
came
go.
back to smoking, it reversed all the stuff it used to help me with. It gave me
Yeah.
anxiety. It made
Yeah.
me think poorly about myself.
Yeah.
It gave me poor habits, made me lazy and shit, and made me not happy when I smoked. And I was like, oh shit, like it wasn't this that I needed. It
Yeah.
was the self-work that I needed.
Definitely.
And the medicine was just helping me cope with what I needed to cope with.
But
at the
not to
moment.
knock weed, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm
because
saying. Because it helped. It's a very
it's a
big part of
beautiful
me
plant.
for sure.
It's a beautiful plant.
Absolutely.
I absolutely have love for it.
I just tell people, if you've never tried to stop smoking before, just try it.
Just try
see
it.
what happens.
A week or two.
Yeah,
Like you
yeah.
can
Yeah,
do it. It's
yeah.
not hard. Like
Yeah.
it's not hard.
Yeah.
But that's also the beautiful part about weed, is that you can quit it and you won't really have any negative side effects, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You'll be chill, you know? Like,
you might just be stressed because you want to smoke.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Just because you want to smoke.
yeah. So that's why it's God made it. So, you know, never gonna knock that plant. It was so important for my journey into spirituality. So Yeah.
So to end.
Look, I was gonna show you. I found the charismatic.
See, there it
Ritter
is,
card
dude. And that
online.
literally looks like him.
I'll post it up so they
Yeah.
can see it.
Yeah.
You know.
You know, with Trump, man, I recently had a conversation with Eddie about him, and it's like, he said something funny. He goes, would you rather vote for someone that's 100% demon, or maybe somebody that's 20% or 80%
He's definitely
demon?
the lesser of the two evils for sure.
He's the lesser of the two evils, even though I hate that saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, me
I
too. Me
hate
too.
it.
But when it's necessary,
Yeah.
And even Sam says, he's like, you know what? Trump is like Godzilla. You know, like Godzilla.
Yeah, he destroys
fucks
shit,
He
but-
fucks up Tokyo, but then hey, you need him to come
need
back
him.
to
Yeah,
fight.
yeah.
You
The
know,
bigger
some other
monster,
crazy
yeah.
monster.
Uh-huh.
Exactly.
So for me, like, I'm at this point right now where I'm like, do I vote? Do I not vote?
same,
You know,
same.
So I'm caught in between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah.
And then when it came to the whole assassination attempt, for me, some things just don't sit so right. I thought it was very strange how the Secret Service let him come back up.
That's exactly
and
what I
stand him
said.
up,
Yeah.
you know,
yeah,
and
yeah. All of the stuff that we were talking about on episode 11, which was the one we talked about the assassination attempt, the only explanation that makes sense for all the things that happened was that it was an inside setup.
Yeah.
They knew it was going to happen. That explains
But
every
Eddie-
other weird thing. you know?
Eddie had a really interesting point. He goes, you know, what if it was a semi setup, but then also an exposure attempt to expose the Secret Service?
Oh, wow.
You know, because when I heard him say that, I was like, oh, that's interesting. You know, like,
That is
what-
an interesting
yeah,
take.
what if he did that all to expose the Secret Service, to further expose the deep state? So that's kind of an interesting theory. Eddie is like, he's so deep into the devolution and Q and all that kind of stuff. So it's cool, man, because like I get to hear information from experts because of the exposure that Eddie has given to me. You know? So I don't know what to think. You know, at the end of the day, the only thing I can do is just get right with God.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can do, bro. So I'm just trying to live life right.
Get right with yourself. Get right with whatever higher
Yeah.
power you believe
Yeah.
in, and just love yourself. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I think people got to stop fearing death, man.
Oh,
You know,
100%.
I think once you hit that ego death, I'm not saying to take shrooms or do DMT, but it certainly helps. But I think, you know, once you get rid of that fear of death, there's a lot more to live for.
You just live
ironically.
life. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're in the present moment. Be in the present moment. You know what I mean? With that being said, man,
Yeah.
let's end on a good one, man. Are there any trips that you want to tell us about that kind of, you know, are good trips, or kind of other ones that defined where you're at right now, or anything like that? Any funny stories that might have happened or anything like that?
Man, I had this one trip. So I had a buddy back in the early days of my jiu-jitsu career over at HQ. Kyle Pyle, man, I'll never forget that guy. He would actually make his own like smokable herbs with DMT in it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He called it
Wow.
changa.
Yeah, Changa.
Yeah. So, man, it was so funny, dude. We packed a bowl of changa, and we're literally in the alleyway where the gym is at. So we're like,
Wow.
Yeah, dude. So we're all smoking it. Everybody's tripping out. And it came to me, and I'm smoking it. And it's like, I went from a kind of realm where it was like in between this realm and then the other.
Oh, shit.
And I remember like seeing my buddies, and they were all geometric and
Yeah.
fucking like
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
all different colors and all this stuff. And some people are gonna probably make fun of me, but man, I just remember like smoking it again, going deep into the trip, and I completely lost all audio recognition, totally in that geometric realm.
Wow.
And then the next thing I see is just like a kaleidoscope of geometric pregnant women.
That's crazy.
I was just like,
Yep.
they were just like full bellied out and just like colliding into each other. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know, like, and I'll never forget that trip. That trip was so
Wow.
funny, dude. I had
crazy.
another trip where I smoked DMT, and man, I was just traveling through like, I guess what I could describe as like more like colorful sheets of like psychedelic fabric, and I'm just like just
Going
rolling
through 'em.
through them, and it was very gold, red, green, like a lot of gold, red, green. And I'm just going through these sheets of just geometric and like fucking psychedelic patterns. And like, man, I remember like, you know, and I think of this, and probably getting a little too deep into this, like, but
never too deep at all, ever.
And it's, I don't know, it's probably gonna embarrass me, but I felt a pressure in my head and then my groin area, like, and I remember because you know those are like the top chakra, right, and then the root chakra. So like, I remember that, and it's so funny because I was like, I said to myself, or I said to the whatever realm I was in, I was like, stop fucking distracting me, get me out of this, I want to see some shit. And then the fucking trip stopped.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah. So that was
took command of the trip.
Yeah. I was like, I stopped it right there. So that one, and then of course did I already talk about the moon one?
Oh yeah.
So the moon one was crazy for me because, like, I saw that moon. I was so paranoid about it, and it's funny because like, so my last name in Croatian means wolf.
Oh, okay,
so like, I kind of thought about like, dude, why do wolves always howl at the moon?
Yeah.
Maybe they don't like that shit.
Yeah.
I was just when I started, you know, having that paranoia about the moon, I was like, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, I gotta go home. Back. Yeah,
I gotta get out of this thing. You know,
gotta go to safe zone.
So yeah, the moon is a weird thing, dude. Like, I don't know if you ever heard this, but they say like the moon is like a cooling light. Like, you could be in the shade of a tree at night, and it'll be warmer when you get outside of the shade and that moonlight hits you. It's going to cool you down.
Wow.
So, yeah, the moon is just, man, something mystical, something magical about it.
Something they're not telling us about it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I mean, man, I wish I knew who this one scientist was, but he was, it was way back in the 70s, or no, the 60s, when they were just talking about landing on the moon, and this one scientist was like, they didn't land on the moon. That thing is plasma. There's no way to land on it.
Oh, I heard about that.
Yeah. So,
that's crazy.
And that's what I think that the sun is as well. It's a plasmoid body that's in our atmosphere as well as the moon. So these things are rotating around us like clockwork. And that's what I think. I think that the Earth is like a clock. It's like a sundial and moon dial, I guess you could say, and it's just going around like this. Maybe it goes further in towards the center and then comes further out. That could explain the seasons and the tides, and you know, I mean, dude, China's already making their own artificial sun, so
yeah,
it's crazy,
insane.
dude.
That's wild.
Yeah, dude. So
well, you guys heard it here.
Yep.
Thank you so much for coming on the
Yeah,
podcast,
Thanks for having
man.
me, guys. Thanks for having me.
Once again, let them know who you are, where they can find you. Plug your podcast too, and give it to them, man.
Yeah. So, you know, Giovanni Vuk. Find me on Vuk Martial Arts on Instagram. Also, go to sanpedromma.com if you guys want to sign up and, you know, learn some jiu-jitsu from me in the San Pedro area. Also, PV guys, come on down. And then, you know, you can also catch me on episode 777 on Tinfoil Hat. And then also, if you want to, you know, throw some money to Sam, get to the premium content. We have Johnny Cash Reads the Bible. So come and check it out.
Check it out.
Thank you once again. This has been episode 13 Outside Minds Podcast. I'm Stilo Free, and
Dot 420.
it is what it is. We outs.
Peace.